What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate, reverse rants, no hate. So I was watching the Keith Thurman, Tim Tszyu press conference, and I don't know. This was this okay. The fight itself, let's just say it came out of nowhere. Really, it was like I just made a video about Keith Thurman because he's not doing anything. He hasn't been active. The only thing he's been doing is just like talking, like he always does. And all of a sudden, I hear that he and Tim Tszyu is fighting, and I didn't hear too much about it. So, I spoke about it briefly and said, "Well, if this is true, then this is actually a fight. I feel like Terrence Crawford. This would have been a good fight for Crawford, but hey, it's a good fight for Keith, somewhat. I mean, we'll see what he looks like come fight night. That's all I can really say. Keith just take these long, stints out of. He just disappears. I heard him talking about injuries and things and other stuff happening business wise and all, and causing him to stay out the ring. But he's talking a lot of shit that he's gonna have to back up. This was just like his behavior was strange. I'm watching him and I'm like, is this dude on something? Like I never saw him act that way before, and like making little weird voices and just the silly stuff he was saying and doing, and I'm looking at him like, is this dude for real? And I'm thinking like, you set up and thought about what you was going to say and do before you came out to this press conference, and that's what you came up with. I don't know if it was spirit of the moment, don't matter. It wasn't entertaining to me. It was just like some foolish, like child's play. It didn't do anything. I can't see anybody watching this press conference saying, "Oh, I got to see this one," based off the press conference. It's like for the people that are going to watch this fight, it's because they know who Keith Thurman is and they know who Tim Tszyu is. Okay, pretty much. So it's a fight in that sense where if they're interested, that's why they're interested. If they're not already interested, I just can't see anybody watching the press conference and deciding that they want to watch it because of that. I mean, it was just a weird press conference to me. And then he says to Tim Tszyu, "I never lost to no slow, flat-footed Mexican." And that's when I'm like, Keith, the dude's Australian. But I mean, hey man, I don't know. And then when he said that, I'm like, what the fuck did you just say that for anyway? Like, you know what I mean? What was the purpose of him even saying that? But that was some goofy shit. Now the reality of it is, if anybody's gonna feel any kind of way in regards to this fight because of those type of comments, I think people would more likely want to see him get his ass whooped. At that point, he was getting zero reaction from the fans. I mean, they were like dead quiet. Everything he was saying, like nothing was really like. Listen, I'm not into all of this talking, personally. Okay, it doesn't mean anything to me. But I mean, this wasn't even entertaining. It just looked crazy. I swear, if I didn't know. Because, if I didn't know, I would think some dude was up on stage on drugs. You know what I mean? Like high out of his mind or something. Like this didn't feel like two fighters sitting there going back and forth or whatever at a press conference. It really just felt like, I mean, Tim Tszyu just, he did what he normally does, but just like Keith part of it was just weird. It was just weird. I didn't understand why he made that stupid ass comment though about I never let a flat-footed, slow Mexican beat me. I don't even know why the hell he said that. And that doesn't that sound like somebody hired something along with his actions? I mean, I'm sitting and I'm like, is this dude all right? And I sat there and I asked myself, what the fuck did I just watch? But that's what he came up with. I guess, he think that's going to sell this fight. He think that's going to get people to tune in. He's making a little weird, silly voices talking about, stand here, let me beat you up, Mr. Keith, please. All just crazy shit. I really couldn't believe what I was watching. I really was just sitting there like, damn, of all people, you think Mr. Well-spoken, don't duck me fun, you think he would be, I don't know, man. It was just a weird press conference. I wasn't even going to do a video about it, to be honest with you. But because of the stupid comment he made and just the way he was acting, I said, damn, you know what? Let me just talk about it for a minute. It was weird. I got to rank that press conference amongst the weirdest press conferences that I've ever seen in my life. I'm not into all that who won the press conference bullshit. That's whatever. I don't fuck all that. That's not going to win you shit in the ring. That's just bullshit. Ain't no points for that. There's no belts for that. There's nothing. There's no ranking system for that. But there's ranking systems for dumb shit. And I'm saying that press conference was weird. It wasn't on Tim Tszyu's behalf. It was just the way Keith was acting. I've never seen a fighter. I never seen him act like that. I never saw him. It was just some goofy, silly shit. Some really silly shit. But that's what he came up with. So I don't know what to take from the press conference. Like, there's nothing to take from it in terms of, the words is not going to change anything. The press conference alone wouldn't make me want to watch this fight. It's not a fight I'm crazy about. But I'm interested to see what Keith got left in the tank, what Tim Tszyu was going to go in there and do to him, type of thing. I'm down for that. But one thing for sure is this: Tim Tszyu can punch. We've seen, everybody talk about Usyk. Keith Thurman is no different. Keith Thurman does not take body shots well. We've seen him get hurt several times with body shots. And when he gets hit, it's like either he gets just hit just right every time or he just has a weak body. Because when he gets hit to the body, he can't hide it when he's hurt. It's always like when he gets hit. And it's like he freezes in his tracks and he tries to move, but he's like, he can't fight back. So, him calling Tim Tszyu flat-footed, slow, okay? We're going to see what he has left in the tank. Keith Thurman is a boxer that liked to move around the ring. We don't know if he still can effectively. But eventually, he's going to have to get Tim Tszyu's respect. He's going to have to land something. Now, Keith Thurman isn't that kind of boxer. He isn't the Floyd Mayweather. He's not a Manny Pacquiao. He's not a Pernell Whitaker. He's not a Sugar Ray Leonard. He's a good fighter, but Keith likes to try to hurt you. He tries to get in and throw bombs at you. And basically, the way I see him versus Tim Tszyu is he's going to have to try to outpoint Tim Tszyu. Try to outbox him and move and use like sound boxing skills. That's just the way I see it. I don't think he want to try to trade with Tim. You never know what happens in the fight. Things do happen. But I don't think he wants to try to trade with Tim. I don't think he needs to try to trade with him. I don't think he needs to get in there and try to make a statement. Having too much pride and going in and getting knocked the fuck out, because pretty much that's really what should happen. For Tim Tszyu, that's the statement he wants to make. Not just beat Keith Thurman, but beat the shit out of Keith Thurman. How much better do you think Keith Thurman would be in his fight than he was against Mario Barrios? Gaining weight, going up in weight doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean like, oh, I'm going up, I'm going to have more power, I'm going to be faster, stronger. It doesn't really mean that. And, he's 35. And he hasn't been in there. And even if he was, You know, even if he was active, you know, people are saying, like, you know, like people feel like Keith is the better boxer between him and Tszyu. Okay, the better boxer, the majority of the times, a solid boxer will beat a puncher, but at the same time, you got to understand again, Keith is, like I said, man, he was a good boxer, but Keith Thurman has his flaws as well. And not only that, him not being in the ring, if you're going by his last performance, then I feel like if that's the case, Tim Tszyu is going to fuck him up. But we'll see. Because the truth of the matter is, I only see him beating Tim Tszyu if he can outbox him. I don't see him knocking Tim Tszyu out. But again, you never know what happens in a fight. So, I believe Tim, he'll take the win however it comes, but I believe Tim wants to knock Keith Thurman out. Like, I believe he wants to go in there and make a statement, put the nail in his coffin. And really, I don't see the reason why he shouldn't. You know, I always watch, like, y'all know, when I look at fighters, I don't look at any fighter with anybody's influence on what I think. I look at the fighter for what he is. I told you, this generation, after Floyd and Pacquiao and the young Marquez, like the Thurmans, the Porters, you know, Spence, those guys, like Crawford is the better boxer out of all of those guys. Out of the last, you know, generation of fighters after Floyd and Pacquiao them, but I don't see none of those guys the same way I see Floyd and Manny Pacquiao. I don't. Now, I think Terrence Crawford beats a prime Marquez as well. I'm not so sure about Sean Porter. I'm not so sure about Keith Thurman. Errol Spence might have stylistically, because Marquez was a counterpuncher. Spence throws power shots, and I think he'd be able to chop Marquez down, because even though Marquez is a counterpuncher, Marquez he puts himself in harm's way at times. So Spence might have been able to catch him with something and, you know, hurt him, because Spence can punch. But I just don't see those guys the same way. When I watch them, I'm not impressed the way other people are. Keith Thurman, no different. So when I look at him, I don't see this master boxer that people describe him as. I see a guy that's a good boxer, good power, good speed, good movement, but great at nothing. Just good. That's how I see Keith Thurman. So, you know, when you see guys, come on, man, you see guys get rocked with body shots by Collazo and you know, just Barrios and guys like Barrios got stopped by Tank Davis. You know, and people always with the ring rust. Okay, well, they'll make that excuse again if he gets his ass whipped by Tim Tszyu. But at the end of the day, like Tim Tszyu said, I don't want any excuses. I don't want no excuses after I beat him. So now, Tim Tszyu has to back up what he's saying. Keith Thurman has to back up what he's saying. But Thurman is talking a lot of shit. And, you know, that shit that he was saying at the press conference, I mean, I think people are going to make memes out of that shit. Should he get his ass whooped? I think people are going to, you know, make fun of him because he's talking a lot of shit. And, you know, the Mexican fans, Mexican content creators, people going to fuck with him. They're gonna fuck with him, and they're gonna, you know, remind him, hey, remember you said such and such a thing. But yeah, that comment was kind of stupid. It was really stupid. I still even just sitting here like, what the, like, why did he say that dumb shit? And the dude is not even Mexican. And I think that I don't know if he forgot and then remembered, or if somebody might have said that he's Australian. Who knows? Because he ended up following that up with saying, I didn't even know Mexican made Australian fighters or some shit like that. I'm just looking at him like, what the fuck is wrong with this dude? Like, yo, Keith, what the fuck are you doing, man? If I'm sitting there as his manager, I'd have linked over like, yo, Keith, shut the fuck up if you're not going to say nothing worth saying. What the fuck is wrong with you, man? Like, what the fuck are you saying? Why are you even saying this dumb shit? I don't know, man. It was some weird shit to me. It was just weird. It was childish. It was petty. And he looked like a fucking idiot sitting there. And I'm trying to understand what the fuck was going through his head when he said that shit. But, hey. So, Tim Tszyu going to want to make him pay in the ring. We're going to see if Keith Thurman still can go in there and do it. Or is he just going to get crushed by Tim Tszyu? Talk to me in the comment section. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people. And I will catch y'all on the next video.